All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the 1968 origin story of one of Marvel's most tragic and iconic characters, a story that was first laid out in this single, incredible, book-length epic.
So, you know him as the Sentinel of the Spaceways, right? This being of just immense cosmic power, serving the stars on a board made of pure energy. But if you ever wondered about the terrible price he paid for all that power? To really get it, we've got to go back to how his story was first told.
To understand the hero, we have to go all the way back to the beginning, back to the man he once was, on a world that was, for all intents and purposes, a perfect paradise.
Now, like so many great tragedies, our story begins in a place of absolute peace, the planet througha. It's a true utopia, a civilization that had achieved everything it could possibly dream of, but in doing so, maybe lost something vital. I mean, just picture this, a world with no war, no disease, no crime. It was a society that had moved completely beyond struggle. All they did was dedicate themselves to art and enlightenment. A perfect world, but maybe one where ambition and drive had become things of the past.
And this is where we meet our guy, Norrin Radd. He's a young astronomer, and even though he's living in this perfect world, he feels this strange longing for the adventurous past his people have all but forgotten. Really, the only thing keeping him content is his beloved, Shalabal.
But you know how these things go. This golden age, this endless peace, it was all about to come to a very sudden and very terrifying end.
So one day, the planetary defense systems, which had been silent for centuries, just roar to life. A colossal threat descends from the heavens, casting this shadow of doom over their perfect world and filling the skies with a terror they didn't even have a word for anymore.
Can you imagine? The people of througha had literally forgotten what fear felt like, and now they were just gripped by absolute despair. Their utopia had left them completely unprepared for the idea that everything could just end.
But while his entire civilization was panicking, that little flicker of desire for action in Norrin Radd's soul just ignited. He refused to accept defeat. He decided he was going to face this unknown thing all by himself.
So he travels to this secret museum, basically a relic of a more violent time, filled with old weapons and spacecraft. He grabs a lone ship and flies out to meet the invader head-on, a single man against the apocalypse.
And what he finds, it isn't an army. It's not a fleet. It's a single, terrifying being of unimaginable size, Galactus, the devourer of worlds.
Now, you have to understand, Galactus isn't really evil. He's more like a fundamental force of nature, like a hurricane or a star collapsing. His cosmic hunger simply led him right to througha's doorstep.
Seeing there was no way to fight and no hope for his world, Norrin Radd makes the ultimate bargain. He offers to become Galactus's herald, to serve him, to scout the cosmos, and find uninhabited worlds to feed his master's hunger, if only Galactus would spare throha.
Galactus accepts the deal. But to serve him, to survive the endless void between the stars, Norrin Radd had to be remade. He had to become something much, much more than human.
So Galactus gives him a tiny fraction of his own cosmic power, encasing him in this indestructible, silvery shell and bonding him to that iconic surfboard. And in a blinding flash of cosmic energy, the man known as Norrin Radd was gone. Just gone forever.
In his place stood a new creation, a being of sleek, silver perfection and unimaginable power, the Silver Surfer, servant of Galactus.
He saved his world, but the cost was immediate and just heartbreaking. He was forced to leave everything, and everyone he ever loved behind, including his beloved Shalabal.
And as a final, cruel act of what Galactus probably thought of as mercy, he suppressed Norrin Radd's memories. This way, his new herald wouldn't be burdened by grief or longing for a home he could never, ever return to.
For ages, who knows how long, the Silver Surfer served his master faithfully. He was this lonely sentinel, roaming the cosmos, guiding this destructive force to countless lifeless worlds, with the memory of his past life buried deep, deep inside him.
But then, eventually, his journey led him to Earth. And when he saw the potential, the fire, and the nobility in humanity, the sleeping soul of Norrin Radd began to reemerge. He chose to defy his master to save our world.
Well, For this betrayal, Galactus came up with a terrible and incredibly ironic punishment. He didn't destroy the surfer. Instead, he created an invisible energy barrier around the entire planet Earth, trapping his former herald on the very world he had just saved.
And that is his tragic fate. He has limitless power, the ability to cross entire galaxies in an instant, but he is a prisoner, forever yearning for the endless spaceways he once called home, but can no longer reach.
It's just such a powerful ending to his origin, a story of sacrifice that really makes you wonder about the nature of freedom. Is a cage still a cage if it's the size of a planet? This question, this is the core of the eternal tragic loneliness of the Silver Surfer.